right, good evening, everybody, or good night. I don't think I have anybody out there in the Asia Pacific region, but good morning, perhaps, if you're tuning in and watching from there. Hail and welcome to everybody. Just a casual Saturday night live stream here, AMA. So if you guys have questions you want to throw them my way, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments over here. Hope you're all doing well. Hope that you have all gotten a chance to enjoy or experience the phenomenon of the Northern Lights or Aurora Borealis that have made it as far south as like me in Tennessee and even further. This is like unprecedented. It's actually pretty cool. Got a chance to see all of that last night, and I believe they're saying that it's supposed to happen again later this evening here today. So we've got 2 days in a row of something that I never thought that I would see the Northern Lights here in Tennessee. I thought that I'd have to travel to the far north, at least up to like Canada or somewhere or whatever to to see it. And I still would like to do that, go somewhere where it's more common to see, but still pretty amazing to see that happening. So we're streaming live here on Facebook and YouTube. Wherever you're watching from, feel free to drop a comment down below so I can acknowledge you and thank you for tuning in today. Got an event coming up here that I will be at with my wife and some friends in Springfield, Tennessee, called Feast of the Fallen. That is a Raven Moon Hearth hosted event, and she will be there selling some like wood burn crafts, things that she's made, like jewelry wise, and some wood burning things that she's done. And also, I will be there to provide rune reading services. So I'll be doing my rune readings there. And this is a weekend or sort of thing. We'll be there Friday, Saturday, and we'll leave Sunday. But information on that you can find on Facebook. You can go to the Raven Moon Hearth Facebook page. You just search Friends of Raven Moon Hearth, or if you just search Raven Moon Hearth, you will definitely find their page, and they post about it. But the event itself is called Feast of the Fallen. It's in Springfield, Tennessee, and there's this is like a yearly thing that the Raven Moon Hearth folks do, and it's like obviously it's a springtime celebration of the fallen warriors. So there's games, there's classes, there's vendors, and there is ritual. On Saturday night, there is, campfire, fellowship around the campfire, drumming, and it's family friendly. So, bring your kids. It is a primitive camp setup sort of deal. So it's on one of the members of the Hearth's, private property. So you can come, bring your tent, your camping equipment, but just realize like there's no access to bathroom facilities, like running water facilities. They'll have like the porta johns or porta potties on site that you can obviously use. And then if you don't want to camp but you want to be there, Springfield, the city of Springfield is like a 10 or 15 minute drive from this place where it's at, and you can always get a hotel and stay there if the primitive camping thing is not your jive. But yes, I'll be there with my wife. We'll be there, Friday, Saturday, and everything closes and ends on Sunday. And that is, again, this coming weekend. So next Friday, the 17th, 18th, and 19th. So definitely hope to see you all there. Oh, I also did have one thing for folks that may be interested in getting something. My father-in-law made this actually last year for the Feast of the Fallen, and it's still available. Um, so this is a picture of him, what he made. It's a wooden plaque. I would say if you're guessing its size there, it's probably like an 8 by 10 or so round wooden plaque, and on the plaque is burnt wooden matchsticks to create the shape of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. Um, we'll definitely have this available for sale at Feast of the Fallen. But if you're looking at this and you're like, man, that would be, that would look really great in my office or on my altar, there is you have the option of hanging this. There's like a picture frame hanger on the back there that you can hang it on the wall or just adorn it wherever you'd like. It is available for sale now. So if you're interested in it, you can send me a private message on Facebook, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can shoot me an email, midgardmusingstn@gmail.com, and let me know if you're interested in it. I believe he was wanting to charge. If we're shipping, we got to consider shipping and everything. But I believe this is, I think it was 65 for this. So if you're interested in and you want it, let me know. Otherwise, if you're coming to Feast of the Fallen and I still have it by this time next week, you can come to Vanessa's table, her booth there. Her and I will have adjoining spots where we'll be next to each other. So come by, and if it's still available, it'll be there as well. So why didn't I put that up there? There we go. So I got a few people watching, a couple different locations, but no comments coming through yet. So again, just let me know how you guys are doing and what you'd like to talk about today. I know there's a lot of buzz going on in pagan communities. So yeah, let me know what's going on in your necks of the woods. What else have we got going on here? Oh, I've got, well, since you guys are here watching, I can let you know what my guests are going to be for the podcast this week. So you guys know I've got, every week on the Random Heathen Ramblings podcast, if you're listening, you'll hear at the beginning of each episode like a little promo for Fjallvatir, Fjallvatir Workshop. And that is J.M. Bright Spirit Olafson's business. So he is going to be a return guest on the podcast this week. And in addition to that, I will also have Blake Russell of Skaldic Works. So Blake has been on the show once or twice before as well. And he had emailed me back a while ago asking a particular question regarding like crafting, craft work, working with like any sort of any crafting, whether it's like leather work, woodwork, music, even whatever. And making, I guess like the question at the time was, is it like a mandatory thing in heathenry or paganism that, you have to have some sort of, craftsmanship skills. And we had back and forth on the email about it, but he did, ask if he could come onto the podcast and talk about it. And I thought, yeah, that would be great. Let's talk about it. But let's also, bring up somebody who is a crafts person who does have, craftsmanship available to obviously the world, but is obviously very, prevalent in the heathen pagan, communities, being, J.M. Bright Spirit Olafson. So them two will be coming on to the podcast next week. And we'll be talking about that. So got two great guests lined up. I know for those of you folks that watch the video versions, the full video versions are only available on my Patreon. So as a reminder, if you want to watch the full video versions, you'll need to become a patron on Patreon. It's just a $1 pledge. The audio is of course, free and accessible on Spotify or wherever other, you listen to your audio podcasts. So Apple, um, I think iHeartRadio, I think Amazon, Pandora, maybe. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ones that it's on. So I'm sure if you just Google, if you just type it into Google and type in there, Random Heathen Ramblings podcast, it'll bring up wherever it's available. But I know Spotify and Apple Podcasts are the most common ones. So yeah, definitely check all that out and tune in next week. It'll be up there as it normally is on the on Thursday. Speaking of Thursday, also this coming week is the third Thursday of the month. Believe it or not, already we're halfway through May. So on the third Thursday of every month is my once a month virtual one-on-one hangout with my Scald tier patrons, Scald tier and above. So again, on my Patreon, you go patreon.com/MidgardMusings, you'll see all the tier perks and stuff that are available. But that is going to be next week. Hello, Taylor Register. Hey, how are you? Speaking of Scald tier patrons, Taylor is one of those members who pledges their support at the Scald tier, or actually they're at the Aesir tier. So it's, Scald tier and above. But you get a once a month virtual talk with me. We spend an hour, usually just going over certain topics. Right now, I think we're kind of in like a Heathenry 101 discussion thing where a lot of people that are maybe new to heathenry, maybe looking at information or what they should know about certain things. And at this stage of things, we've been doing this now for like the last few months, and we're at the heathen rituals section of it, and that's going to kind of wrap it up for this month. And then I think the next months in June, we are going to be talking about the creation myth. In Norse mythology, you hear about that in the Voluspa, the poem of Voluspa. So that'll be June's discussion, and we probably will start scratching the surface of that in June. But as a reminder, again, it's the third Thursday of every month. So if anybody's interested in wanting to come and participate, hear what we have to talk about, you can definitely do that as well. But yeah, so hey Taylor, thanks again for tuning in and watching. I'm doing well. Just a sort of I like to get these out every so often. I don't really have a scheduled plan on when to put these out, but doesn't seem to be getting too much interaction here. I don't know, you guys are quiet tonight, which is cool. Usually I've got comments coming through really well. Nobody's wanting to comment, but you guys are watching, which is cool. And so I just need to see what else we've got going on. What else have I got going on here? So we talked about Feast of the Fallen. That's next week. My wife and I will be there, Friday and Saturday and into Sunday. We talked about the Aurora Borealis. People everywhere around the world now are seeing it. I've seen pictures from folks in, Europe, of course, Britain. I've seen people post stuff from like Australia, New Zealand. Hope everyone's doing well. Hello, Yusuf Ibn Stephen Deerdorf. Sorry, Alan, welcome to you. I'm doing well. But again, the Northern Lights haven't ever reached this far south, at least not in my lifetime. It's a pretty big geometric storm, I guess, that's causing all this. And last night it was present. You could, some folks like in my area, it wasn't visible to the naked eye. So you had to like look at it through your phone's camera. And then you had to like turn down the exposure on the camera to like night mode, and like allow it to kind of focus in on that there. So yeah, it was happening. I know a lot of folks were in areas that it was, there was a lot of cloud cover, and they were like, oh man, I wish I could see it. But you might have an opportunity again tonight. So if you didn't see it on the 10th, today, if you're watching this live now, May 11th, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So for you folks out, obviously, that by the time this is going out, it's already past that peak time for like Europe. But you might still, if you're listening to this, you might still get a chance. So for those of you that are hoping to maybe see it again, remember it's between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is the optimum viewing time. So I know in my area it's again clear night skies, but I live very close to a lot of city lights, so there's that constant like light pollution. But if you can plan ahead and you want to go out to like further out into the country where there's less of that light pollution, you've got the optimal opportunity to see it again. I feel like it's one of those things that you don't really. Again, I'll be turning 40 this year, and I've never heard of the northern lights being visible in the south. So are they now the southern lights? Does that make it? That's how it works. But yeah, they're happening. It's wild. I might be poking my head out to later tonight to see, or hopefully, get a chance to see him again. But there's so many good pictures. I'll show you guys some of them if I can. Let's see some of the ones from at least Murfreesboro. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. So let's do this. Let me show you guys a little bit of what the northern lights look like down in my neck of the woods. So yeah, let me do this. Let's see. Yeah, that's about it. So here's one, like a lot of pinks, purples, reds, a little bit of the greens. But again, like this is very visible, and that's a good one. You can see some of the greens there, pinks, purples. They were more easily seen in the, like I said, like the night mode of your phone's camera. But I mean, look at that. Like this is like never would have thought in my life that the northern lights would be down here this far in Tennessee. Oh, that's pretty. It's crazy that the phone can capture this. That's even crazier if you think about it. Yeah, this is explaining what the scientifics behind the aurora changes, why you got the pinks, the blues, the greens, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, just very vivid, again, never would have thought. So there you go, little peek into the world of the aurora borealis. Hello, Daniel. Do have a question for you. He says, not trying to be political or anything. The recent news with the Troth, what is your opinion on how national heathen groups can affect the quote-unquote normal heathens' day-to-day life with their behavior? I kind of expected this was going to come up, actually. There's, if anybody's involved with the Troth that watches this or listens to this, this is not a reflection on you specifically. But let's talk about it. So I shared something about this like earlier in the week, a few days ago, maybe, when the Troth first announced that Diana Paxson was basically coming under attack in a way for being involved with actions against children of an abuse nature. Not to get graphic on this um, stream, but you can find out more information about it online. And so, because Paxson was, had been affiliated with the Troth and was a member, lifetime member, an elder of the Troth, and a clergy person, um, this there was a lot of like vague posts made by the Troth. I thought, at least, they were being very cryptic in the things that they were saying. It took a lot of digging, and it took a lot of research to find out what exactly that they were talking about, that Paxson was allegedly, is it guilty of, or involved with. But it involves stuff from decades ago. A lot of people, when they saw what the Troth was saying, replied and said, "It doesn't surprise me. This has taken so long." Like, there was a lot of stuff. And I shared that just as like an informational thing, because, again, anybody who's involved with the heathen slash even pagan community, not necessarily just heathen community, also true, if you want to call it that now, everybody knows who Diana Paxson is. And so she has had a very influential presence. So when all of this stuff came out about maybe things that she didn't necessarily do, maybe she wasn't the offender in terms of the acts of abuse that were being mentioned, but just having knowledge of it and trying to be, I don't know, uh, passive about it, not confrontational about it. There's a lot that only she knows, and only certain people know. But ultimately, what has happened is the Troth has removed her from all involvement with them. So she is no longer part of the Troth. She's no longer an elder. She's no longer part of the clergy program. And this was determined yesterday through, as they put it, a unanimous vote by the Troth's board of directors. So there's there's so much vagueness to what the Troth was saying. It's like, I feel, you're being too cryptic. You're not speaking plainly. People have questions. They and what do I think? What's my opinion on how these organizations? Again, I don't know enough about the whole situation to say one way or the other that to blame for this. Again, if it was a whistleblower that brought out Diana's past, and again, all these decades later, brought it to the Troth's attention, and then the Troth had to, because of her association with them, had to act and had to do what they had to do. How can they affect normal heathens? I don't think. See, this is why I let's see here. Let's see. Where's my camera? Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with this. All right, there we go. We're back. But anyways, this is why I've said for the longest that I don't. I've never been. I think at one point in time I was a member of TAC, and it was a very short period of time. Like maybe like an ambassador. I don't think I was even an ambassador. What the heck was I? I don't know. I had some sort of piece of paper or something that said I was affiliated with them in some sort of way, but I never gave them money. And it was like for a very short period of time. I don't agree with the level of representation that national orgs have for heathenry for stuff like this. It's not a slight to the people that find benefit to it. I think there's some good to it all as well. There's opportunity for networking. Hello there. I saw a moose. Hail and welcome. What is my opinion on how national heathen groups can affect the normal heathen day-to-day life? If you're doing heathen stuff and it's normal, I don't think this is going to impact people's life too terribly. I think it's going to create a bit of a fuss now for a little bit. People are going to maybe think about it for the next however long, and then it's going to be forgotten, or it's going to be I don't know. We'll see. It's not going to affect me. It doesn't affect me at all because I don't have any connections with them. It's like how much bad press the AFA and even TAC and stuff has had over the years for different reasons. They all have their flaws. They've all got problems. But does it affect the normal, quote unquote, as you say, normal day-to-day stuff that normal heathens do? Like, no, I don't think so, at least. Now if you're a member of the Troth, and then maybe there's something that you're impacted by with this, but or maybe not. Again, I wasn't too. I didn't think that the way that the Troth handled the board of directors, the leadership, I don't think that they handle this well. I think that there was a lot of saving of face because again this came out recently, but this isn't a recent thing. This isn't new. This isn't a new development. So if this is stuff that they've known about or had no knowledge of, and they had chosen to ignore it or sweep it under the rug or just pretend it wasn't there, and now they're only doing what they're doing out of a knee-jerk reaction to the spotlight that has been put on it, then that's terrible. If they've known about it for this long and have just chose to do nothing. I don't know if that's the case. And so again, it's pretty widely known and accepted that this thing that is Paxson was alleged to be involved with or had knowledge of or in any sort of way was associated with, that she, that again, this isn't anything new. And, somehow it just got brought to the spotlight and has made big news. So, it's definitely impacted some people's life. People that have known her, people that have been part of the Troth for years, people that have history. There's a lot of hurt, I think, that these people are feeling, for a lot of different reasons. So, but I think you just, keep doing your thing, people, be the heathens that you're going to be. And I don't think this is going to have, an impact so much on the day-to-day stuff that we do as heathens. So yeah, there's my answer, and hopefully that answers your question, Daniel. Thanks for posting that and adding it to the discussion for tonight. I keep an eye on stuff like this just because, again, you do, content creators, people that have a public forum like myself, it's almost you expect stuff like this when it happens to somehow impact you or have an impact. But I don't see it as such, not to me at least. I'll still keep an eye on things and kind of observe and watch, Um, and see how it goes. And I'm sure this won't be the last time that it gets discussed or talked about. I'm sure that it'll get mentioned or brought up, if not in person. Then it'll make its way to my inbox. I actually had somebody attempting to, before all of this came out, I actually had somebody who I was in contact with, trying to see about getting Diana on the podcast. Hello, Michael. Late to the show. That's okay. We're just it's not very busy tonight in the comments. I've had a couple of folks on Facebook and you and somebody else here on YouTube, but thank you for coming in and watching. But anyways, I did have somebody had reached out to me and was going to attempt to book or help me get Diana booked for a guest spot on the podcast. And then all this came out, and they reached back out to me, and they're like, I don't think now's a good time. And I said, yeah, I agree. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's keep that out of this, let's keep this one off the table for a while. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Midwinter. Yeah. All pretty wild stuff, guys. Just being the silent observer of it all, and seeing how it's all played out has been. I think it's opportunities for folks to learn stuff too. If they had reservations, or if they had thoughts, about wanting to join any organization. I mean, this could definitely be the thing that keeps people from pushing that, lever, as it were. I saw a moose says favorite Havamal stanza. There's several that I have that I would guess are my favorites. I like the one that talks about the road between friends isn't long. The distance may be long, but if you're good friends, the distance is really short. But the fake friends, there's a long distance between. And I'm butchering the saying of it. Let me find the one that I'm talking about. See here. And then I always like the cattle die, kinsmen die, you yourself will also die. Let's see. To false friends, yeah. To false friends, a far away 'tis, though his roof be nearest by the road. To starch friends, by a straight way leads, though far he have fared from thee. That's the Hollander translation. Let me go back and get maybe Bellows, maybe. See what the Bellows translation says. Friends of all those. Yeah, crooked and far is the road to a foe, though his house on the highway be. But wide and straight is the way to a friend, though far away he fare. So, even though distance might be close, and it's easy to get back and forth, to somebody, they, that doesn't mean that they're your friends. True friends, the distance doesn't matter. So I like that one. And I've always liked the, where it kind of talks about you might not have a lot, but what little you do have, it's yours, and you can be, proud in that. I think it's like, so better a house, though a hut it be. A man is master at home. His heart is bleeding, who needs must beg when food he fain would have. That's another one that I like. I don't know. The Havamal is like one of those that's just it's riddled with great quips of information of positive, no, good things to learn. Good ethics, good ethical and moral lessons. Michael Thacker's wanting to bring up a Patreon subject, asked as a question: how should we adjust our practices in shared space, such as hotels/dorm rooms? Yeah, Michael, thanks for asking that now, and we can definitely put that up. It is something that I'm going to have on a future episode. So for those that don't catch this right now, we'll come back to it because it's a great thing. So Michael, your question is, how do we adjust our practices as heathens when we are sharing space with others who maybe aren't? So you can be living in like a shared apartment, or you have other people with you. When you say it's like a dorm situation, or maybe even hotels. If you're living on the road a lot and you don't have like a dedicated space that you have to go to all the time, so you just make something up as you go, kind of like an altar on the go, or whatever. But how should we adjust our practices in shared spaces? I think personally that living in my living situation, obviously my wife's not a heathen per se. She doesn't adopt the same worldviews as I do. She doesn't do the same things as I do. She has her own ways of tapping into the spirituality that she feels comfortable with. There our things aren't so vastly different as, say, like Christian versus pagan. But there's a respect thing. There's a degree of respect that should be administered. Obviously, you don't want to offend somebody unnecessarily, and do something that's going to make them uncomfortable or offend them. So there's honesty, there's openness, transparency. I feel that is important for stuff like this. And then again, the respect factor. If you're in a shared apartment or a dorm, and the person that you're with is not comfortable with you having like an altar or something set up, there needs to be some openness. I think there needs to be a discussion about it. I don't feel like you should just do what anybody wants because it makes them uneasy or makes them feel uncomfortable. I look at that as like an opportunity to maybe educate. All right, so what about this makes you feel uncomfortable? If it's like a genuine like religious thing, which I would find that to be like if they're if they don't like the pagan side of things or the heathen side of things, and yet they've got obvious religious decorations and pictures and things that supporting their religion, but they're uncomfortable with yours, and I feel like it's a lack of respect. So it's like, okay, well, if it's fine for you to have your cross on the wall or something, or whatever it is, then we should compromise and find a way to coexist peacefully enough to allow for each other's respective religious or spiritual freedoms to be allowed. So obviously for me, there was another thing I was thinking of. There was I remember reading this one time. There was, I don't remember where I read it, but there was a lady who had passed away. Her kids or grandkids or something were like going through her closets and stuff in her house, like just as you do when family members pass, you got to go through all your belongings and things. And anyways, they had reached like a closet or something in this woman's room, that when they started getting in there, they realized that there were some like items and stuff that looked like pagan items. So there were like apples that had started to kind of rot because she had like a small altar or something in there, statues and stuff. And as it turned out, um, people that were like, because the person who was writing this article was asking, I think it might have been like a Reddit thread or something, and people were asking like, what could this possibly be? I don't know what this is. Is there anything about this that you know people know about? And the response that people were getting, or the response that people were giving, was that this woman had an altar in her closet dedicated to, um, I think it was Idun, or maybe Bragi, because Idun was Bragi's wife. So there was, anyway, what ended up coming out of the whole thing was that none of her family members, the whole clan, the whole family had no idea that she was into any sort of pagan practices her whole life. She had kept it private, and she had kept it so well hidden. And these were folks that were like openly Catholic or something too, if I recall the story correctly. She had coexisted. She had lived in her way, dedicated to her gods and her practices, without infringing on the social norms of the family. What was acceptable, what was peaceful, right? She didn't do anything to upset the peace of the family. She just did what she did in the privacy of her own home, in even in a closet, right, to keep it out of sight of people to see. And she did that and took that with took that to the grave. So I feel like, again, depends on the situation. Not every situation is going to be exactly the same. But in terms of adjusting practices, it's an adjustment. Sometimes you might have situations that call for a bit more tact. Like, you have to be a bit more sensitive to certain things, maybe, or there's and now if it's just like a logistical thing, like, oh, I got to pack this up and move it. I mean, that would just be part of your, whether, like, you have a nomadic lifestyle, if you're on the road driving a truck, or you've got a long distance that you're going, and you're very rarely in one place for very long. That's an adjustment that you just, in your lifestyle, would need to do. And if it's not a matter of, well, I've got somebody else that's living there that I don't want to disrespect, and it's just you, and you're having to adjust for the nomad lifestyle that you have, then you would set up your space wherever it was. You would declare, whatever you wanted to declare as sacred, and make it and work with it as best you can that way. Maccabee Designs on YouTube. Hell and hello to you. Hope you're doing well as well. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Yusuf says, what about when visiting families that does not know? Like, as in, it's best that she does not know. Yeah. So, like, I had a situation one time where my parents, when I first told them that I, was heathen or pagan, they didn't like it. Still to this day, my mom won't speak to me at all until I renounce my heathen ways, basically. Well, I still would go up to visit, and up until the point where I was, because I've been told I can't come to my parents' house. They don't want me there. My dad passed away last year, but my mom's like, even when my dad passed away and I was like, can I come and see you? And she's like, no, we can meet somewhere else, but you can't come over to the house. Long story short, before all of that happened, I would still come around, and I would have, my hammer around my neck, openly displayed. I remember even showing up there and having a big shirt that says heathen on it. It came from Grimfrost. My wife got it for me, and it says heathen on it. So I was like very, very open about it. Like, I wasn't trying to be discreet in any way. There was no discretion. That was a word I was thinking of earlier about what we do with people around us. Sometimes you got to be discreet. And I, realized, finding out later on, like, my mom, she had spoke to me. She's like, how disrespectful of you. You know that I don't approve of this, and you're going to come here into my house and wear these things and display it in such a way. And I thought, she's got a point. That was bad form on my part to go into her house, go into their house, and I could still be me. I could still be who I am, but just to be that blatant about it, and to not have any sort of respect or aggression on my behalf. You know, so maybe you don't wear the hammer outside of your shirt. Maybe you don't wear clothing blatantly obvious that says heathen or pagan or something on it that makes it such a unavoidable thing to see. Maybe you're a bit more discreet about that when you're visiting family members that don't know. You can still practice what you practice. You can still be who you are and do what you do that without shoving it in people's face, you know, and without having it to be like this, you know, thing. Uh, you know, look at me, I'm loud and proud, and you're gonna have to deal with it. You don't have to be that way. You're not gonna, you know. Again, I think it goes back to the respect thing. So when it comes to family that don't know, and it's best that they don't, well then do as much as you can to not breach that topic, breach those subjects, or do anything in any way that's going to cause it to be brought up. Again, if you got a hammer, you got some sort of symbol of your faith that you want to wear, you can wear it proudly. Just conceal it, right? Be respectful. Hello, Hilberto Medina. Sorry to hear that. Thank you for the kind words. It's yeah, he passed away in April of last year, so this year was the first year uh, of his being gone. Yeah, I mean, wear it proudly. Again, you should. I think it goes with, you know, wearing a symbol of your faith, whatever that symbol is. You should be proud of it to the point that you aren't apologetic about wearing it. And again, at the same time, if it's better and safer for you to not be blatantly open about it, like, because believe, I mean, there's plenty of cases, there's plenty of people out now who cannot come out of the broom closet, as they say. They can't reveal publicly that they're pagan because of the situation that they're in, their family, this and that. It would be detrimental to their safety, to other, you know, stuff. It would be bad if their family knew that they were heathen or pagan or whatever. So they have to be private about it. They have to conceal it. They have to, you know, they have to keep that light kind of turned down in a way, not have the spotlight on them so much. So yes, you can be proud about what you're doing, what you're wearing, but you can also be respectful and aware of the consequences or whatnot if you do it. Kept my stuff to myself because nobody needs to know my personal work. There you go. Sad your mom has made that decision. I am too, you know. This is, again, you know, it's Mother's Day here for, you know, in the US. It's, you know, Mother's Day holiday coming up tomorrow, and I, you know, wish I could I wish that there was a way for us to get past the hangups that have risen and be able to, you know, be cordial and respectful to one another, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. You know, she obviously, she bore me, she carried me for 9 months and brought me into this world, and I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't have the opportunities that I have if it weren't for her. And I will always love her, for the life that she gave me, for the parenting that she did, for the wisdom that she's imparted, for everything that she's given me throughout my life. You know, I owe her a great deal. And it does sadden me that I can't have a relationship closely with her, because I do. I love her unconditionally. Michael Thacker, personal question. Considering I'll be touring your state of Tennessee, Pigeon Forge in Nashville mostly, very cool. What's some of the best local known places to eat and drink? Well, if you're going to be like in the Pigeon Forge area, there's tons of places like Gatlinburg and Sevierville. There is a Mexican joint in Gatlinburg called Loco Burro, like the crazy donkey. That's what it's called, Loco Burro. There's another, what the heck is the name of that place? I think it's a diner in Sevierville. It's like an old, like 50s kind of, I think it's, yeah, is it called The Diner? Yeah, it's like a retro 50s themed thing, and it's called The Diner. It's right on the main strip as you're going down in through like Sevierville. So if you just Google The Diner Sevierville, their burgers, their hot dogs, it's great. They got like an old, like a car, I think, in the lobby. Is that the same place? Might be a different place I'm thinking of, but that's a really good joint in Sevierville. Yeah, they got like old cars sitting outside. Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty hip place. As far as like Nashville goes, I mean, they're one of my favorite places to go eat at in Nashville is called Honey Fire Barbecue. It's probably one of the best barbecue joints I've ever ate at. And that's including places like Memphis and Texas and you know wherever else. I mean, you know that's a big thing in the South. You know whose barbecue is better. You know, and Texas is going to say theirs is the best, and St. Louis is going to say theirs is the best, and you got Tennessee, and then well Memphis is going to say theirs is whatever. I'm telling you, man, Honey Fire Barbecue is my favorite barbecue joint, and where I live is like almost an hour from that restaurant. It's like a good 45-minute drive from where I live to that place. It is worth it though. It is worth the traffic. It is worth the time. So I mean, if you're coming to Tennessee, you almost have to have barbecue. You know, Honey Fire is one of my favorite joints. As far as like going out to drink, like I mean, I don't bar hop anymore. I don't do that. Like it doesn't, you know, like alcoholic beverages. I'll just buy stuff that I like to drink and have it at home. You know, it's cheaper that way anyway. So like, but if you're into like just wanting to like kind of see the culture, see like the scene as it were, if you're going to be in Nashville, obviously Broadway is going to be the biggest touristy thing that you can do, and just you know because there's bars everywhere on Broadway. You've got you know the Orchid Lounge, you've got Tootsie's, you've got all these little fucking honky tonks and stuff that are around there. Everybody's playing music. It's a big thing, and so basically, you know, Friday, Saturday nights in Nashville are like nothing but you know woo girls and touristy type folks, you know, walking around in cowboy hats and cowboy boots and stuff and just bar hopping. It is kind of fun. Like I won't lie, it's fun to go down there and see the antics and whatnot, but be prepared to just deal with a bunch of traffic and crowds and stuff. So, but those are my recommendations at least. Also in Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, Gatlinburg, that whole area, you'll see them a lot. I think they're called pancake houses. They're really good. I think they're like a chain or something, but it's good. You know, obviously pancakes, but they got other good, you know, breakfast food and stuff too. So, those are my recommendations, suggestions, and yeah. So safe travels, whatever it is that you're doing, Michael. I hope you have a safe trip and get a chance to enjoy some of the things. If you like stuff like knives, guns, you know, knives, swords, all that. There's the Smoky Mountain Knife Works place there in Sevierville. So Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, again, that whole stretch. That's a cool. It's huge. You know, anytime my wife and I are spending time in the mountains out that way, or if we're just passing through, quite often we will take the detour and we will get off the interstate, and it's about a 10 or 15 minute drive off the interstate to get to the knife store. And it's massive. So we'll usually take, you know, however, a couple hours out of our schedule, whatever that we're traveling to or from, just to go in there and see, you know, what's new. That they got, you know, knives and guns and all kinds of bladed things. They got a pretty cool like relic room too, where there's like all old antique stuff and stones and rocks and old, like, you know, archaeological digs, finds and things like that. What's my favorite brand of whiskey? Daniel asks, what's my favorite brand of whiskey or bourbon currently? I do like a bourbon, but I don't really like dabble in the bourbons more. I mean, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, like those are good. I like those as far as bourbons. But my day-to-day whiskey, like I drink Clan McGregor, and I know that doesn't mean much if you're not like into scotches. It's a blended scotch. It's not even the greatest of blended scotches. It ain't like a Chivas or a Dewar's. But it's pocket friendly. Like it doesn't break the bank. It's something that I've been drinking now for, I'm going to be 40 this year, so I've been drinking it for decades. I remember my grandmother drinking it. But in terms of what I really like, what is my favorite brand, Highland Park is one of my favorite brands. It's a single malt. The Vikings Honor is really, really good for I think it's like $60 a bottle or so. For the 750 milliliter bottles. The flavor is great. Like it's not gonna break your wallet if again, $60 for a good whiskey, and it's a 12-year single malt. I really like that. I really like Talisker. Again, those are in like the upper 40s, low $50 range per bottle, so they're not terribly expensive. I like Talisker because I like a good smoky kind of peaty Scotch. I like Islay's, which Highland Park's not an Islay, but it does have a touch of that kind of smoky peatiness to it. Talisker, on the other hand, is a very peaty, smoky kind of Scotch. So I like that. And I recently I know it's not like a brand new one, and it's been around, but I just recently got into it and I like it. It's an Irish single malt. I think it's called the Saxton, and it's like $30 a bottle for a 750 milliliter bottle. And I like that. It's a single malt. It's an Irish whiskey. I don't think it's aged for terribly long. I forget how many years. Maybe just be like an 8 or a 10 year, if that. But it's decent for the price. You can't beat it. A few friends, Michael says, appreciate it. Few friends wanted to do a guy's road trip, mostly because I couldn't convince one of them to go camping. Man, and that guy time, dude, I'm telling you, it's absolutely cathartic. When you get a chance to just hang with the boys, be safe, but getting that male bonding, I love it. It's great. Women should do the same thing too. Yes, I'm all about having experiences that are co-ed and sharing moments and time with people of all genders and mixing it up. But guy time, girl time, ladies, get with your girls, bond with other women, and men, same thing. You got to, like, I feel like that's one of the things that has gotten a bit forgotten or lost over time is sharing that energy, sharing those moments to bond with folks of your same gender and all that. So what have you become? So Maccabee says to become fond of Absolo, a Mexican whiskey made from an heirloom variety of corn. Ooh, okay. Don't know how to pronounce that, but some kind of corn. It's got a light sweetness to it. Love to try it, more age to it someday. I will have to look at that. What's it called? Abasolo? Abasolo. I wonder if we have it around here. I've never heard of it. And I've honestly didn't know that Mexican... I've never heard of a Mexican whiskey. Abasolo Mexican corn whiskey. Because usually when you think of Mexican alcohol, you think of tequila, of course. Reposado, what's the other one? Mezcal. They mixolize the corn before they ferment it. Ooh. I'm going to see if they've got that in the area. We've got a few good liquor stores in our area. Corn whiskey, I mean, that's sour mash, right? I guess, like I don't say like we call it moonshine, but corn whiskey, I'll give it a whirl. So thanks for the suggestions. Hello, Lord Frederick Russell II. Any thoughts on the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef? This event is definitely pleasing the gods. I mean, objectively, I have no idea what's going on other than just the little whispers and whatnot, the memes that I get, coming across my feed. But I wouldn't venture to say that the gods give two shits or a fuck less about it. But who am I to say? I'm honestly out of touch with that, Lord Frederick. I'm sorry. I don't know. Michael Thacker, how long do you believe it takes to fully establish frith with a person? Wow. That's a great question. Hmm. Um, I think this is one of those. I think this is an example of one of those things that doesn't have a set answer. Like I don't think we can really come up with a universal answer as to, well, this is exactly how much time it takes. My personal opinion is Frith is kind of one of those things that it starts the moment you start. So whether you start, a couple of weeks, a couple of months into the building Frith and establishing it, you might know somebody for a week or a month before you start establishing Frith with them. Then again, you might know somebody for months or years, and have never really built Frith with them. Like, for example, I've known Eric Shervin from the Ravens Call for 6 years. I consider him a friend. He considers me a friend. We have each other's phone numbers, that sort of thing. But we are not Frith bound to one another. We have not established, and he would agree, that we have not established Frith between us. But we've known each other for years, So, how do we measure up that to your question? How long does it take to establish Frith? I think it's ongoing. I think that you can start the process of establishing Frith very early on, if that's the intent, if that's what's behind what you're doing. I think from the context of like having people in your life that you, whether it's like a heathen group, kindred, tribe, whatever, I think that a good approach, a healthy approach, would be to give yourselves at least a year of getting to know one another. Don't start, getting into like the kinship titles and all that between people for at least that first year. Give yourselves time to do things with one another, to get a chance to know one another on a much deeper level than it's going to be than to just, share a few horns of mead or ale, or maybe even have a ritual together. Like, do things that are going to prove to you and them that your relationship is secured in bonds of kinship, that you can rely on one another, that you've done things to prove your worth to one another. And it takes time. Yes, it does take time, but I would say, like, if in terms of meeting with people and doing things with people, a year is probably a safe time frame to consider. I know a lot of groups will not allow a prospective member to become fully integrated with the group until after a year of sort of like a probationary period of worthing takes place. Hello there, Aether Tales. Good evening. Frith starts when it starts. Very quotable. Yeah, I didn't realize that, but I think, yeah. So I mean, so Halen, welcome to you there, and thank you for commenting. But in terms of how long it takes to fully establish Frith, I wouldn't be comfortable with exchanging kinship titles. Which, when we talk about Frith, right, you almost have to absolutely include the topic of kinship in that, because Frith is it's built around that kinship model. Whether kinship is something that is achieved through, obviously, birth, blood ties, or whether it's a sort of like an oath to one another, or that sort of thing, or even the Frith that is established through such things as like marriage or integration of relationships with people. Because when you think about families becoming intertwined through such things as marriage, or relationships, that is becoming, you're becoming Frith bound with that person and those people, because they are the people who, against all odds, against anything that comes up, you are the one that they rely on, and they are the ones that you rely on, and there's this reciprocity between those parties, and you'll do anything for them, and they would do anything for you, you know. So I mean, a year is not a very long time either. Like I said, and I've known people, I've had relationships, I've been frithbound to people. Um, I've known them I had known them for years, and the relationship dissolved kind of poorly due to the lack of tending to that frith web. There was no reciprocity anymore. The bonds of that frith were getting damaged, and no repair was being made. So despite the fact that I knew them for years, it was like, man, look, if this is the way it's going to be, then something's got to give. We gotta address this, And unfortunately, the addressing of it was not reciprocated. They opted to walk away. They opted to take the option of, well, I just won't have anything to do with you then, I guess, which was sad. And it was like one of those things where you go, well, man, why? Like, we've known each other for this long. We've established a sort of kinship bond with one another. We have frith to maintain. Why give up so easily, But it does. It takes and requires work. Because establishing something now, continuation of it, right, maintaining it is now required. You can establish it at whatever point in time, but what's going to be the thing that fortifies it and strengthens it to maintain and withstand the shit that's going to come up to attack the integrity of it and to potentially wear it down and break it down. So I think that establishing frith may not take a very long period of time to start that process. The real work is in the maintenance of it and keeping it strong and keeping it healthy, and that involves work from both sides and on all sides, everybody involved. So good question though. I never really thought about like a time period. I've always just kind of expressed like, well, however long it takes is how long it takes. It happens when it happens. And it starts when it starts. So thank you for asking. And I think it also touches on some of the things that I think Daniel asked before, about these big organizations. I'll just post it up here on screen for those that have joined late and didn't see. But how national heathen organizations can affect the normal heathens' day-to-day life with their behavior. Talking about the recent stuff going on with the Troth and Diana Paxson and all that. If you're, the normal heathens around, the folks that aren't really worried about the big national org drama and stuff like that, I mean, they're continuously doing the things that heathens do. They're the ones that are maintaining the frith web with their people, and at least hopefully they should be. So the activities, the drama, the happenings of these big organizations that they're not involved with, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't impact them, because what matters and what is impactful is the honor of their groups, of their people, so doing things that are honorable and living in an honorable way and behaving honorably, that's what matters to the quote, as you put it, the normal everyday kind of heathen folks, which I'm sure there's, I mean, look, these national orgs are what they are, but it's still made up of everyday people, just because you pledge a donation every year or something to an organization that you want to support. I mean, it doesn't make you any less of a normal person than the next guy, I think, or the next gal. You're just, giving monetary support, and you're agreeing to adhere to the bylaws and whatnot of that organization that you're kind of pledged to. Still an everyday normal person, And but what's happening on that everyday normal level is what I just said. That's what should be happening. I feel is that you should be behaving and acting honorably to reflect, you know, well upon that organization if you're affiliated with them, because that's what happens. People automatically are like, well, look at the crap that's going on with this group, therefore everybody with that group or everybody that's associated with this way of life or this lifestyle or this belief system, they're automatically going to lump everybody into that kind of category. Well, then it's up to you and it's up to the individuals to prove otherwise. Well, I'm not that, because look at my actions, look at my deeds, look at my own Ephraim, my own reputation, right? I'm doing things that are not in accordance with that. I don't act that way. I don't behave that way, and I speak out against it when it comes time to, as necessary. But there's so much of that now. There's so much of this seeming social justice happening, which the majority of it is just keyboard warriors, keyboard elitists and all this that feel like they have to say something and the louder they say it, the more cages they rattle, the more valid they feel that they are. And I don't think that's what it's really about. Too many people have access to social media that shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, sit down and shut up and let the adults talk. Michael's got a few more Frith-related questions. Great. This is one of my favorite topics. Is friendship, as in being around often and doing small things together, maybe small jobs, more impactful to Frith, or is deed, as in large acts of inconvenience, such as traveling out of state to help? Great question. I think that I think it I mean, it's all kind of part of it's all part of the mix. It's all part of the bag. But I think in terms of the reality of it, it's like, you're going to be doing more of the small things together with people. And look, small jobs, like if you want to, like, I remember one of the times that I can recall like a moment where frith between me and somebody was being established, okay, was our tribe was preparing to instate our new Gothi. And this person who's still with the tribe now, his name is, he goes by Ulf, he goes by Björn, he's got, he comes out to a lot of local events too, but he is, and he has been, oathed in as our Gothi now for over a year. But we knew each other about a year before that started, so when he first came into the picture, some of the stuff that we like in terms of the establishing Frith with somebody, I remember I had some work to do around my house. It was like cleaning up the yard for prepare for the winter or to get it ready for spring or something like that. I think I had a bunch of like yard work to do. And anyway, I asked, I said, do you think you could come by and help with that? And he was like, yeah, sure. And, that was like a moment where I knew, well, I could ask somebody for help. Could I have done it on my own? Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't like a big job. It wasn't something that was out of my capabilities of doing on my own. But I looked at it as a way to sort of test the situation, right? And see, well, if I ask for help, what's he going to say? How's he going to respond? And it may have seemed like a small task or a small job, but the purpose behind it was more to, again, do something with him and him with me for us to get, to work together. I had to clear some branches out of our tree one year, and I'd asked him for help with that. He did. And that was like one of those things where I did need help. I needed somebody to hold a ladder. I needed somebody to help with this and that, and he gave me that help. And it was a, kind of like a small job around the house type stuff, but it was the act of knowing I could rely on him, and that his response to that was proof that oh, now we're starting to get into, building, maintaining frith, you know. So when you do stuff like that, when you start with those steps and those small steps, the big stuff, like, oh, I need to go out of state because somebody that, I've, been friends with, now they have to move. They have to move out of state, or they need to move across the county, or they need to move across the, town or whatever, right? Like that, those like bigger type things have had the, like, you wouldn't necessarily feel the obligation to that person or them to you if you hadn't already started with like the small stuff, you know? So I feel like the small things, seemingly small things, are the building blocks that prepare for the larger stuff, for the bigger things, you know? You don't just jump into, you know, I don't know, you don't just jump into building a house until you know how to hammer a few nails and measure some, measure tape and cut with some saws and all that. You don't jump into the big stuff until you do the small stuff. Hello, Adam Cage. Wanted to say hello, and you rock, man. I appreciate you, dude. I'm looking forward to seeing you and your family at Feast of the Fallen next week. So thank you for coming by and commenting on the live this week. Having a good discussion on such things as frith and whiskey and all kinds of cool stuff. So thank you, and thank you everybody for tuning in. For those of you that did join late, I don't remember who was here when I mentioned this earlier, but I do just want to let you know I've got this item that my father-in-law made. It's going to be for sale at Feast of the Fallen, and it is I would say it's about an 8x10 or so round wooden plaque with Mjolnir on it. The Mjolnir that you see is made out of burnt wooden matches. So my father-in-law makes stuff like this, and he made this a couple years ago, and we've been holding on to it. It hasn't sold. I'm offering it now if somebody wants it. Just send me a message. Shoot me a direct message on social media. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can email me about it. But I think it was I think it's at 65 to ship it. But if I still have it next week at Feast of the Fallen, it'll be there. But he does. He burns. He has to get all the matches, and he burns them. He lights them on fire. Obviously, he burns the ends off of them, and then he makes stuff. So like he's made a few things like picture frames and stuff for my wife and his daughter there, and he made this. And we'd love to sell it because he's obviously on a fixed income and all that. So we'd love to sell this for him, and gift him with the stuff, with the monies. So if anybody's interested and wants it, let me know. But otherwise, it'll be available at Feast of the Fallen. Michael Thacker says, UPG Frith question: do you believe a Frith breaker would even be able to redeem themselves? Yes, depending on the severity of the infraction. So there's, and this is more, I think this is probably more than just UPG. There is definitely enough examples. There's enough sources that would support what I'm about to say. That if you're breaking frith, right? If it's like an oath or something that was broken, and that has allowed frith to be broken, there had been times that reparations were paid and the wrong that was committed was made right. So if frith is broken, again, depends on the situation, depends on the custom, the law, the thew of the group, but if it's like a personal thing, if it's like the frith between two people, then it can be repaired if they're given that opportunity, and if they prove themselves, accordingly. Again, so like back in old days, some cases, some things where if you broke that that frith, then you were outlawed, and there was that was just the rules. That was the law. If you were, but if it was something that the law said you could pay shield or pay reparations, basically restitution for, pay the fine, basically. Sometimes those things were allowed, and you could redeem yourself that way. But absolutely, I feel that in modern context and in modern times, there is there can be that, you know, opportunity to um, redeem yourself. Um, Sometimes the damage is just too egregious. Sometimes the damage is just too strong to allow for that, and you know you got to cut your losses. But yes, I believe that it can happen for folks that if Frith was broken to redeem themselves. Thank you, Adam. I hope it finds a home and makes it to the hands of somebody who will enjoy it for a long time. I have two of his pieces that hang on the wall uh, next to my. They're hanging over here in my office, but they're one is a Mjolnir, kind of like the one you saw, because he made one for me one year, and then the other one is the Midgard Musings Bind rune that is like on the all my stuff, and then the other one is my name. He put it on a like a long plaque and stained it, and it's my first name on there. So he definitely has a talent for that. Um, what about someone who's Neithinger? Yeah, I so once you've done something to be declared Neithing, you know, uh, I wipe my hands of it. I'm done. I'm absolutely done. There is nothing. I don't even want to consider you to think about the opportunity or the possibility of redeeming yourself. You know, uh, what has happened that has caused the Neithing to be declared, or for someone to be made Neithinger. That to me has reached such a inviolable, if that's the right word, egregious thing, that there is no chance or opportunity for you to redeem yourself. We've gotten past that point. Now you're Neithing. Now you're outlaw. Good fucking luck, buddy. Like, you're out, like the biggest out that you can possibly be. So yeah, I don't think that Neithinger is something that you can come back from. I think once that's happened, then that's pretty much the nail in the coffin from my perspective. And I've maintained that. I've had very few cases arise for me where that's even become something. Like, I think it's been 2 times. Yeah, 2 times that I've had something happen where the person involved in me, the act, the offense was so egregious that they were outlawed, and I don't want nothing more to do with them, like, ever. And there's power in that. You don't come back from stuff like that. It's one of the problems I feel that exists, and also true nowadays, is there is none of this. For such things to happen, there needs to be proceedings. Back in the day, it was Thing. A Thing would be called, or you would go to Thing, and judgment was weighed out and leveraged in such a way that, hey, if they were Neithing, then that was it, and everybody there knew it, and there was power in that. If something is made Neithing, if something is made as unlawful, as outlaw, and everybody agrees with it, then there is no chance for such trivial stuff like what's happening in like some of these national orgs where it's our decision. No, man. Like, if a thing was called about some of these problems that arise in the heathen and pagan communities, and everybody realized that, well, this is it. This is how we're all going to respond to it. There is no wishy-washy pussyfooting around about this thing, that, or the other. It is what it is. And we call it as such. And we outlaw it. And then everybody is subject to that. There's no coming back. Once that happens, you're done. You're gone. So, yeah, I don't think that Neithinger is something that you should play around with, or that should be played around with, because it is such a serious thing. It's such a yeah, it's powerful, you know. So I don't think the Neithingers have a chance to redeem themselves in any way, shape, or form. They're on their own. But yeah, good questions, man. Good questions. Thank you so much. But yeah, I think I don't know. I am gonna probably retire this live stream here pretty soon. Just wanted to jump on here for a little bit. I know there's not a whole lot going on right now in the chat, so if anybody has another question, feel free to drop it below. But I might just put this on pause now and go back to my evening and maybe get ready to watch the Northern Lights again. See if we can get another view of that. Yeah, see you next weekend too, Adam. Looking forward to seeing you again, and you and your family as well. But yeah, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Michael, and who else here? Maccabee Designs. Thank you, Daniel. You guys have some great comments and questions and stuff that came up. Thank you, Hilberto. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, I saw a moose. Asked about the Hovermall. Thank you, Taylor. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Great to have you all here. You have a great night too, Taylor, and you as well, Yusuf. If you guys don't mind, just subscribe to the channel, do all the things on the socials. You know how it goes. Don't forget, for the Patreon supporters, I do have the monthly one-on-one thing that happens in the third Thursday of every month. Well, I appreciate you being here, at least, Michael. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff going on at the beginning, but you can always get it on the replay. But again, the once a month Scald tier and above, hour-long discussion, virtual discussion, is happening next Thursday. My guests for the podcast next week are going to be J.M. Bright Spirit Olafson and Blake Russell from Scaldic Works. We're going to be talking about the concepts, or the need or necessity feelings of craftsmanship and craftswork in the heathen and pagan community. So that'll be fun. That'll be out next Thursday as well. Thank you, Maccabee Designs. Yes, nice to have some rare free time, and it's good to have you here again as well. Appreciate your support and tuning in. And I always appreciate everybody. Okay, yep, that's a spam bot post, whoever that is. We're not going to post that. Matter of fact, we're going to get rid of it. But anyways, you all have a great night. Thank you so much for your constant and ongoing support. May the gods continue to notice you. May your ancestors smile upon you. See you guys around. Bye-bye.